Hello and welcome to our Christmas special episode of GG Weekend Watch with myself, Kate Tracey, alongside Andrew, Matt and Dave Young, to look ahead to a plethora of action that we've got over the festive period on both sides of the Irish Sea. So we're going to really focus in on the grade ones and the big races, or else we will be here till 2026 if we were covering every single race that we've got to go through. But so much good action to look at. And of course, we have a quick turnaround. This is the 23rd of December. So some of these races won't have the full declared fields to be able to go at, just as a heads up. I believe it's a Tuesday. I don't know what day we're actually on right now, but it's the 23rd of December, all the same. So we're going to look back at the results from the weekend that just was. Now, in terms of selections, Andrew had Scarface, who finished second at 9-1. Saladin Sun fourth at 11-2. And also a winner with Willful at 11-2. And Dave had a really good weekend. Again, Scarface 9-1 finishing second. He had Impostoire winning at 3-1, and also with Willful winning at 11-2. So a profit there, very healthy profit of £10 from those selections for Dave last weekend. Hopefully that can continue into the Christmas period as well. Now we're going to begin on Boxing Day at Kempton, as you would expect, the 26th of December, otherwise known as St. Stephen's Day for our Irish viewers out there. The 120 at Kempton is the Grade 1 Kauto Star Novices Chase, 4-year-olds and older, over 3 miles. Kit's Bull it is, who heads away 2-1 favourite in this one. Salva next in at 11-4. But again, Andrew, we've got a smaller field to go at here with just the 6 runners. So who wins?
Yeah, shame there's no each way, but fascinating nonetheless. And we should talk Willie Mullins, first of all, on his recent form. The last 60 days, 26 winners from 159 runners. That sounds all right, 16.4%. But that's well below market expectations. Those 26 winners should have been closer to 40 based on their prices. His actual over expected score at the moment is 0.66. Anything below 1 is bad. So, yeah, just something to worth keeping an eye on over the next few days. So that was one reason I wasn't usually keen on Kit's Bull at offers around about 15-2-1. Salva impressed at Sandown on the step up to 3 miles, but he was one who's on record as needing softer going, so it is a little bit of a concern that the ground's drying out, although the 3-mile trip could compensate. Wendigo, solid enough after that grade 2 win last time out, but there's a couple of wraps that I want to take a chance on to small stakes each way. Crest of Fortune for Inform Anthony Honeyball, who was 4th to Wendigo at Newbury last time. That was over 2.5 miles. He plugged on in to be beaten 9.5 lengths. His Chase W is 2nd, also over 2.5 miles. But last time he ran over 3. He finished 3rd, beaten 2 and a bit lengths at 25-1 in Grade 1 company over hurdles at Aintree back in the spring. He's going to improve for going over this trip over fences for the first time. So I thought 22-1 was big about him. And the other one, Thomas Moore. Won well at Ascot last time for the detective agency, Hobson White. And of course, this one is 4 from 4 on right-handed tracks. Now, he hasn't had many opportunities in Grade 1 company. He pulled up in the Challow, but that was going the wrong way round, left-handed, as was his run in the 2023 Albert Bartlett at the Cheltenham Festival when he was 6th, promoted to 5th at 66-1. So, never lost this way round. Guaranteed to stay the trip, unlike some of his rivals, and is a very, very big price. So, yeah, split stakes, Crest of Fortune and Thomas Moore for an upset.
The 2 biggest prices in the field, Crest of Fortune 22 is Thomas Moore at 25-1 to cause the upset in the Grade 1. I mean, Dave, he's really laid down the gauntlet here, hasn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's really interesting with the Willie Mullins stuff because ignorance is bliss sometimes, isn't it? But I think his last winner since maybe the 11th of December, his only winners come at Catterick as well. So it's not even like it's big comparative races that are going in there. But then I would try and look at it half glass full that we're coming into the festive period. He's saving his better, bigger horses for these periods. So, yeah, I'm trying to be excited about it because I think that Kit's Bull is the one to beat in here. I'm hoping that there might be a chance because of the Willie Mullins form and this being one of the earlier opportunities to see how his Christmas stars are going, that we might get way too big a price about him, because I think 2-1 about him is more than fair. The big line of form from last season was at Sandown, wasn't it, where Blue King Daru beat both Kit's Bull and Salvo. Kit's Bull was like, I think he had cheek piece over the first time, but he was a bit, oh, sorry, it was a hood I think he had on. He was a bit keen with it. And sometimes when you can put headgear on horses, it can help. Sometimes you can put it on there and it potentially doesn't help at all. And I don't think it really helped that much compared to what he did at Aintree. For all that he did settle a little bit better. Now, stepping up to 3 miles is the concern with a keen horse. But when he chased last time at Punchdown and he's chasing debut, I thought he looked like a just nice, steady, solid horse. I don't think he showed the same tendencies he did last season. So on that performance at Sandown, I think he would be able to reverse the form with Sal because he was behind him. I think he'll definitely be able to reverse the form with Blue King Daru as well, because Blue King Daru made real hard work of winning at Wincanton, wasn't it? When, I mean, he had no reason to win that, or to win that after all the mistakes he made, but he still did. It was a phenomenal effort. So he probably could be a little bit overpriced if he gets his jumping together, Blue King Daru. But of that trio from the Sandown race, I think Kitzbühel will be the winner of that trio. I think 2 to 1 about him looks fair. Like I say, maybe the Willie Mullins nerves might mean we get a bigger price, which means I'm still happy to follow in. We'll find out after if that's the right or wrong thing to do. Just a mention on Wendigo, because he's probably the most solid option in the race, given that he's got good form. His win last time out when he beat No Questions Asked was good. He was like fairly weak in the market, but still managed to get the job done. And he won like a good horse as well. He is definitely a horse that wants 3 miles, if not more. And I do look at the Kauto Star, thinking back to horses like Top of the Game when they get beaten this and go and win an RSA. Bobsworth goes and gets beaten this, goes and wins an RSA. Like, I think if I look at all these horses and think who would have a chance at an RSA or a Brown Advisory come Cheltenham, I don't think Kitzbühel's going to beat Final Demand. I don't think Wendigo probably would beat Final Demand, but I think he's the best of the options in the race. So I think he'll be popular. Top price 11 to 4, bottom price 2 to 1. But I just think this might be a little bit too sharp for him. And if Kitzbühel and Willie Mullins' form isn't a problem, then I think Kitzbühel's the right favourite, even though he might not go off as favourite when we come to it. So Kitzbühel will be my selection. But yeah, it's going to be nervy watching these first couple of Willie Mullins ones run over Christmas, I think.
It is, isn't it? For sure. But Kitzbühel, though, 2 to 1 heading the way. Sorry, Dave, if you thought that I was smiling and giggling at you and your selections there, that was definitely not the case. I was laughing at Andrew doing his Christmas cards in the background there. Nicely signed and sealed, a bit of sliver on there for Andrew Mount, doing his Christmas cards in the background. So good to know you're multitasking. Mr. Mount, hopefully that is just added selections. Do you do that, actually? That's a good idea. For your Christmas cards, you should always just add one little selection, Mr. Mount. Just as a tip for whoever you're sending it to.
Yeah, I was to my next door neighbour. I want to. I still want him to talk to me because he often puts my bin out. You see, so.
I think my neighbours have done that this morning. Actually, I need to go and check to see if my bin's just disappeared and my neighbours have put it away. But yeah, exactly. Always give them. Yeah, make sure it's not a losing tip there.
Maybe they've just nicked it.
Yeah, to be fair, could have easily happened. Right, that was the 120, the Kauto Star Novices Chase. A Christmas Hurdle is up next, the Grade 1 contest at 155, also at Kempton. 4-year-olds and older, over 2 miles. Sir Gino, here he is, back out again. 364 days since we last saw him, back over hurdles here after that sole chase start at this meeting last year. He was the 4 to 7 favourite, Dave. And of course, talk about the 2-mile hurdling division. Here we go again. Golden Ace, though. What voodoo is she going to cast on her rivals this time around?
I know, it's mad, isn't it? Like, I know people all, like they said before the fight in fifth, didn't they, that she was a very fortunate winner of a champion hurdle, and she wasn't, I don't want to say she wasn't getting the respect that she deserved, but she was, I think, getting the respect that she did deserve. She won a race that she wouldn't have won if the other horses had stood up. Now that it's happened again in the fight in fifth, people, I think, are trying to put a little bit more emphasis on the fact of, well, jumping's the name of the game. She is getting the job done. But at the same time, you can't really be going into every single race just assuming because she's won races because everyone else fell that everything's just going to all of a sudden start being bad jumpers, because Sergino isn't a bad jumper in the slightest. There's no reason to think there's any tendency to do that. Constitution Hill in that fight fifth, we know is. The New Lion was his first foray into open company. He looked a little bit wild on the front, didn't he? And Amsterdam tried to bite her on the home straight as well. So I think we've got nice, straightforward competition in here for her. I think it's quite easy to say that 4 to 7 that's currently available for Sergino, as far as I'm concerned, will not be about on Boxing Day. I think this horse will go on freeze on. I don't see how Sergino gets beat in this. He is a proper champion hurdle prospect, and with respect to Golden Ace for the fact that she has achieved far more than some of the other horses have in here, she's going to get found out in here. Unless something happens to Sergino, which we never want to wish in a race, she can't get anywhere close to him, and I think Sergino's going to absolutely dot up. So 4 to 7 looks big as far as I'm concerned, and he will win.
Yeah, so well, yes, that's it. 4 to 7 potentially looking very big then about Sergino here, in the hope that everything goes smoothly for him. And we really, really hope that, of course, because he is such an admirable horse and he's so talented. So it'd just be great to see him back out again. Andrew, is there any sort of way to play the Christmas hurdle?
It's tricky, isn't it? I mean, Sergino's been off for a year. That could count against him. Reverting from fences could count against him. But then he's Sergino, and he's just been hugely impressive, winning all 6 career starts, 5 for Nicky Henderson. Very difficult to oppose. As for second place, it's probably Golden Ace, so there's not much juice in that market either. Although Celtic Dino's won 5 of the 6 times he's raced on genuinely fast ground, a pro form going adjustment of 1.0 or higher. And if it continues to dry out, then perhaps he could be the one who chases home Sergino. But I'll be banking on Sergino in my play spot, and just hoping he doesn't get struck by lightning.
Which, to be fair, with Golden Ace, about anything could possibly happen to her rivals. I don't know what is going on, but there is some sort of hex going on there with her. But looking forward to the race all the same, to see them all out again. Right, the 2:30, the little known contest for King George for 6th Chase, a Grade 1 contest, 4-year-olds and over 3 miles. Now, it's been fascinating to see the betting, not only throughout the week, but now that we've got the declarations as well. Gaelic Warrior, 3-1 heading the way. Now being joined by Django Bay, 3-1 as joint favourite. Factor file to 100 to 30. He, of course, had that slide earlier on in the week. No one quite knew exactly what that was about, but good to see that he is turning up here all the same. And 13-2 bar about the remainder. So, Andrew, we've got a cracker on our hands here.
Yeah, it could be one for an outsider again here, I think, as well. So, I mean, obviously with question marks over Mullins, Gaelic Warriors, Factor File, I can leave both those alone quite happily. Django Bay, very impressive last time out, but he's stepping up in trip, and we've seen time and time again. However many times people say, oh, Kempton's a short track, and it suits 2.5 milers, this 3-mile trip. It doesn't historically. There's plenty of bombed out, having shown form over shorter trips. I wouldn't be surprised if he won this doing handsprings, but I can leave him alone at 3-1. The Jukebox Man's interesting, as he has a course win to his name, and that's been hugely important in this race, often underestimated. He's got a great strike rate, but he hasn't done a great deal on the clock. Yesterday I was quite keen on him. Then I looked at his speed figures, and he's way behind what's needed for this race. So again, at the current odds of 13-2, I can leave him alone. I think he'll drift. The 2 I like. First one is J-Lo, who won the Charlie Hall when Venetia Williams was out of form, although he didn't know it at the time because it was one of his earlier runners, and because he jumped out to the right on the left-handed track but still won. He's then gone to the Peterborough Chase at Huntingdon, won the race for the 2nd year of running. He's got a great record, right-handed over 2 miles 2 or further, 4 wins a second, and then an unplaced effort from 6 starts. So he's young, he's progressive, he's a big price considering his profile of going into this unbeaten and with both wins in Grade 2 company. Banbridge is the other interesting one on the course form angle. Time and time again, we've seen last year's Kauto star be a good pointer to this race. He won that, of course, last year from Ile Francais. And although his form since has been pretty diabolical, beaten 3 times by a total of 119 lengths, the visor goes on for the first time. Sean Bowen's up, but he has won the first time headgear before in cheek pieces at Punchestown a couple of seasons ago, beating Captain Guinness in the Champion Chase. So, those are the ones that were quite interesting for me. So I'll go J-Lo over Banbridge. I must mention Master Chewy as well, because he needs a flat track. 7 runs in his career on flat tracks, 3 wins and 4 second places. The wins at Newbury, Kempton and Aintree, and the runner-up efforts, Aintree, Newbury. He's had a wind up since we last saw him, not necessarily a positive gift for the sire or for the trainer. His stamina's open to question, but in these sort of 3 and 4 place markets on the exchanges, I thought Master Chewy could outrun odds of 150 to 1, 200 to 1. So don't be surprised to see him run a big race. And we could get a funny old result here for the place spot. J-Lo beats Banbridge 14 to 1 and 16 to 1. He's wide open. But yeah, Django Bay of the 3 at the head of the betting. But I'm fingers crossed for a funny result.
Yeah, for an odd result then. Massachusetts 150 to 1 outsider of the field to outrun his price. And just to note, I know that you said about Banbridge Ile Francais and the Kauto Stars. You'll know what you meant with the King George last year, but just to add in that there. But the main selection though, Jello at 14 to 1, Banbridge is also a big price to go back again in this one at 16. So right, the King George, Dave, who wins it?
Well, I feel like relatively confident in a race where I probably shouldn't have too much confidence. But it's a crackerjack for sure. I agree with a few points that Andrew's touched on there about like types of chance for some of the horses in here. I do think that Jello is overpriced at 14s. There's just so many bits of form that you look back on and just think, how did he get beat there? And sometimes it's excusable, maybe because of track direction. Other times I watch the race back and think it's just not that good. And he isn't the biggest of horses, but he is, as far as I'm concerned, overpriced. And I agree similarly with the Jukebox Man that I think he looks like an obvious drifter. And where Andrew's talked about what he's done on the clock, I'm not so much of a time man. But the bare form of what he's done, bearing in mind last race was a graduation chase, wasn't it? This is his first foray into open company. He's got no form in the book to suggest that he's got the ability to actually win this race. And for me, he'd have to improve probably a stone compared to some of these horses. But of course, some of them could underperform, but I just don't think that will happen. It reminds me a little bit of the King George that Clanders over one when Thistlecrack was in there, Native Rhythm, Might Bite was in there, and Waiting Patiently was a horse that was very well backed for it and unseated right at the start. So I'm praying that we don't get that in this race, where we don't get to see the race sort of unfold as it is. But that's what stinks with Jello, I think, in there, because it's early season form. People have forgotten about it. Clanders over was quite eye-catching in the Haydock run, the Betfair Chase before, where they said it was a prep run for the King George. So yeah, I expect Jello to shorten up. But I do think that Gary has everything in his favour to go and win this one. I think tactically it's going to be an interesting race. We've got loads of pace in here. We've got loads of horses that have potentially got a little bit of quirks in them at some stage in there. And even with the pace angle of it, he did win an Arkle, didn't he, like Django Bay did, but he's come into his own since he's stepped up in trip. And I think his last few performances, if you watch him back, he looks an uncomplicated horse now when he's being ridden for the distance. So I think he warrants favoritism, but I also think he warrants favoritism, like to be clear favourite. As it stands at the moment, there are some firms that have him as third favourite in here with Django Bay, Shorter and Factor File. Now, my concern with Factor File is his wins last season were the John Durkan and the Ride Air, weren't they? And that's not your King George distance. Like Andrew's saying there, that people say that it's a sharper one and you want the speed horses in there. Yes, you need to possess some speed, but when Valtor got chinned by Q Card, it was stamina that got him beat. And Factor File might just about stay, but it's not difficult for people to see that his best form is at the middle grip. Gary went and beat him in that John Durkan as well. So we know that he's speedy, but we know that Gaelic Warrior definitely does stay. I just think he's got so much more like life experience under his belt. He's still only a youngster, isn't he? We remember him from when he ran in that Boodles, but he's got the most experience in this race for a horse, but also still looks as progressive as some of the others. Django Bay's fully in the could be anywhere category, and I thought his run at Ascot was really good. But I just wonder with him whether this is a little bit too soon for him to go and do it. And he is against the big boys, and it will be a completely different type of race and pace. And when he ran at Aintree, I think that was a really poor performance in the context of he was good in an Arkle. He's been good since, but the Aintree run is hard to get out of my memory. So I think he's a King George winner in the future, Django Bay, but not this year. I think that Gary will win it. And I don't think even Willie Mullins' form is going to put me off that. I think 3-1 about him is generous. Like I said, like Andrew said about Jello, I think he'll shorten. I do agree that the Jukebox Man will probably drift out, but Gaelic Warrior will win. And I'll have a little saver on Jello just to be a value loser if it needs to be done.
14-1 about Jello if he does shorten up, which yeah, he's going to be the horse, isn't he, that you'd imagine should be shortening up in this. And the Jukebox Man, given the form that he's shown, the horses that he's been beating, it's tricky to say that 13-2 is a decent price about him, so don't be surprised if he drifts out. But Gaelic Warrior, good old Gary, it is though for day 3-1 heading the way. I was with Django Bay if you watched any of my other shows, and he would have joined an illustrious roll of honour if he manages to win the King George as a 6-year-old. Kauto Star, Long Run, Clanders Oboe, Kicking King are the other 6-year-olds since 2004 to have won the King George. So he would be joining that. Whether he's up to it, I don't know. I feel like I'm late to the party with Django Bay because I've never really sided with him. And now, what's the saying after the Lord Mayor's show? Something like that. That's how I feel that I'm going to be with Django Bay. But going to side with them all the same. Right, let's skip over to Aintree now for their 105 contest. Of course, still also on the 26th on the Boxing Day. Grade 1 Formby and Novices hurdle, 3-year-olds and older over 2 mile 1. My Daddy Paddy, we saw this morning, I believe it was, that Dan Skelton actually had to put out a video and a statement to say that he is all okay. He is fine. He did drift out. He is now a 4-7 favourite in here, so he has come back in. But Dave, it's the time of year where the rumour mill starts circulating. But good to see he is getting the green light.
Well, absolutely, yeah. And that's where you have to take everything with a pinch of salt, don't you? And people can be convincing and have a bit of a following. It's the same as when we talk about stuff. In the instance where I said Sagino will win, obviously that is caveat with the fact that that's in my opinion. And in that person's opinion that tweeted about it, they thought there was something up with the horse. But what they probably thought they were doing people a favour by saying it, but at least it's come back out after. It sort of is what it is, isn't it? But if you're taking action off the back of someone else's opinions, you've got to take ownership that you're doing it off your own back. So with that done, so my hands are dry, I think my daddy Paddy's going to sluice up in this, but he is 2-1, like 2-1 on in here, and he's plenty short enough. He's got a rating of 138, hasn't he? He's favourite for the Supreme Novices Hurdle. He probably is better than, well, I say probably, I think he is definitely better than 138. So while on official ratings, there's a couple of horses like Idaho Sun and Diamond Hunt, but they're only a few pounds behind, and Starmount for Ben Pauling looks like a really nice prospect. I think the market knows that my daddy Paddy is further clear than the official ratings would suggest. And you go back and watch the replays, like I'm trying to see something in the other horses against him that would suggest to me, oh, they look like they've got a big engine in them, or they've not been like fully exposed and they've got loads of extra gears. Some of them, like Idaho Sun from the last effort, might have a bit more of a gear in him, but he was in a bit of like a really Mickey Mouse race. Like I think he was 1-14, and as he crossed the line, he looked like it was a canter, but it should have been. He didn't look like he had that superstar quality. My daddy Paddy does look like he's got that superstar quality. He's a beautiful looking horse, travels strongly in his races, so I see no reason why he wouldn't take this race. 1-2 does not interest me in the slightest, though, because it is a novice hurdle, but he's priced in a situation now where you just leave him alone and enjoy the result. And if for any reason he does falter, you'll be covered in the fact that you probably shouldn't be playing the race, would be my view. But with there being 3 places up for grabs, we've got dead 8 at the moment, so that could change, but I think firms would probably hold up the places. Probably is ripe for an each way bet in the race, and maybe Andrew's got an in for us.
Nicely teed up there, Dave. Andrew, do you have an in?
Well, Andrew has, and it's Andrew Martin, the trainer of Glance at Midnight,
Yes.
sort of passing Glance, as the name suggests. Now, I too think that my daddy Paddy is going to win this. In Idaho Sun, the obvious danger, having only lost in the champion bumper from 5 career starts. But of course, being trained by Andrew Martin, I think Glance of Midnight is overpriced. He arrived at Cheltenham's meeting earlier this month on the back of two wins at Huntingdon, 1 in the bumper, 1 in the maiden hurdle. And because he bumped into Nicky Henderson's Old Park Star, who was very impressive that day, winning by 12 lengths, clocking a good time. So I think the beaten horses in that race, those who managed to sort of finish 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, are going to be worth following. Glance of Midnight was keen that day, lost his position before staying on again. Old Park Star made the running. I think stepping up into a better race, one that looks likely to be run at a good pace, because there's plenty of horses who made all when winning last time out in this race, like Diamond Hunter, like Storming George. I thought that, Glance at Midnight, it will settle better in a better race, and could stay on him for a place here. So let's hope all 8 go to post and Glance at Midnight can finish 2nd or 3rd.
Andrews unite, Andrew Martin and Andrew Mount here, 33-1 about Glance at Midnight, potentially for that each way play there in the Grade 1 Formby. Right, we're going to switch across the Irish Sea now, head to Leopardstown again, also on the 26th. So it is now going to be St. Stephen's Day for the 220. This is the Grade 1 Racing Post Novice Chase. 4-year-olds and older over 2 mile 1. Romeo Coolio, we talk about the shorties. He is not all that short in comparison to a few that we've just been talking about, but he is 4-6, heading the way in this one. Salvatore Monday, 4-1 next in. So Andrew, how are you playing this one?
Yeah, cracking race, because Salvatore Monday beat Romeo Coolio at Aintree over hurdles last season, but Romeo Coolio has really impressed since switched to fences. And he won, of course, on this card last year, winning the Grade 1 Future Stars and Novices Hurdle. Gordon Elliott's in excellent form, better than that of Willie Mullins. And I've just been so taken with his run so far over fences, backed up by the clock. Romeo Coolio for me.
Romeo Coolio, it is playing it over straight back there, 4-6 in his bid for his hat trick here. Jack Kennedy and Gordon Elliott. Dave, do you concur? Are you taking him on?
I don't know. I wish this race was run 20 minutes later, so the King George had been gone and we could see some more of the Willie Mullin horses. Because if Factor Farm and GambleAware both do bomb, that would start to have alarm bells ringing in me. But if Salvatore Monday, for example, in this race was to bomb, it wouldn't really ring alarm bells, because he's that type of horse, isn't he? But as Andrew touched on, he did win at Aintree, and when he did, I looked at Romeo Coolio's 2nd in the Supreme, thinking he was the right type to take out of the race. Reminded me a little bit of, I can't remember the name of the horse now, it'll come to me in a second, but a Gigginstown 2-miler, maybe Abracadabras, that crossed his leg at a hurdle at Aintree. But like, you see him run at Cheltenham and you think, oh, they're an Aintree, or they're not quite the Grade 1 specimens. So when Romeo Coolio did get the Aintree, I sort of looked down on what he did in the Supreme and thought, well, maybe he's just a bit of an ordinary horse. And he has been good this season, and he definitely looked better over the over fences now. But both those runs have been at 2.5 miles, and I do think that at 4 to 6, he's probably skinny enough for all that. If Willie Mullins' yard isn't going well, then he's got a much easier task in here, because I think that Savills Chase probably on paper is the only horse that could beat him. Where there's this discrepancy at the moment, 4 to 1 Savills Chase with one firm looks massive. Like, I think if I was going to price this up with everything being like a straight bet, I'd have Romeo Coolio maybe a shade of odds against, so maybe about a 5 to 4 poke, and I'd have Savills Chase about 5 to 2. So it might just be that I'm getting lured in with Savills Chase as a value loser. It could be the right bet in the wrong race, but I fully respect Romeo Coolio. He's priced fairly defensively, in my opinion, but it might be the correct decision from the firm. So I will put up Savills Chase. Like I say, if it was run 20 minutes later and Gaelic Warrior and everyone else was running poor, it would probably put me off him enough. But he is the type of horse, isn't he, to go against the grain and go and win a race like this. And I think at 4 to 1, I'd happily pay to find out.
Yeah, at 4 to 1, again, it's all price dictated, really, isn't it? But of course, yeah, we're going to get just more knowledge, aren't we, from where the Mullins team are on the 26th, but it may not come in time for that race necessarily. So, right, we're going to switch to the 27th of December now. Still at Leopardstown, though. The 1 at 12 is the Grade 1 Paddy's Rewards Club Chase, 5-year-olds and older, over 2 mile, 1 furlongs. Margeborough, the snooker table, it is, who is heading away, actually now joint favourite, along with Marine National on his reappearance here. So, Dave, there are question marks aplenty in this Grade 1.
There are, yeah, and this is a frustrating market, because when it was priced up before, there was a big price discrepancy between Margeborough and Marine National. So I think at one point Marine National was about 5 to 4, maybe as big as 6 to 4. Margeborough was as big as 3 to 1, I think even maybe 4 to 1. But since they've been declared and everything's sort of settled down, because I guess there was assumptions whether Margeborough would come here or not, they are sitting sort of as joint favourites as it stands. And when I was looking at the prices when they were very different, I thought to myself, I thought Marine National probably looked short, but I would have thought that if they were about joint favourites, Marine National would be the one I'd want to side with. Because like you say, Margeborough does jump like a snooker table. Even Willie Mullins' comments after the last day saying how much he's concerned about his jumper and it really needs some working on, was a bit un-Willie Mullins-like. And of course, we've touched on, I don't want it to be a benefit for the trainer form in the previous races, because I've selected a Willie Mullins horse. But in this instance, if the form is bad, then Margeborough, added to the fact that he can't jump very well, probably does look tight enough. I don't think there's any compensation factored into his prices or any consideration factored in for the potential Willie Mullins form. The tricky thing with Marine National is last year he ran in this race. I fancied Dino Blue in there, and him and Marine National and Dino Blue were both on the inner of the course. The winners came from the rail, so they were like the stand side of things, and they were on the wrong side of the course, and it made a big difference. And I thought Marine National ran well, but it looked like his wind was maybe a bit of an issue, and he didn't see the race out. But he was all right in the champion chase, wasn't he, with his breathing? And I know that Aquilix fed at the end, and they might be disputing that, but he would have won that. And then he backed up at Punchtown and did go and win. And for a horse that was a phenomenal Supreme Novice Hurdle winner, he probably has just taken a little bit of time to come to hand. And although he finished out the back end of last season well, I think there's reasons why he started last season a bit slowly, because he was being brought along. And that is a bit of what Barry Connell does, isn't it? He does seem to bring his horses on a little bit slowly. So I'm tempered with him, because I think Marine National is the most solid option. I think 9 to 4 about him looks a generous price, if I'm honest. But I am concerned that they will be saving him for a bigger day. So there's probably enough in his price at 9 to 4. He's as short as 13 to 8 in places. So again, it'd be very price driven, but I couldn't trust Margeborough's jumping, because it's not like it's bad, it's like it's terrible when it is, but I could see him going really well. But I think it's more likely I can see Margeborough making another mistake. Marine National jumps beautifully, and I do think that he's turned a bit of a corner. There was a recent comment when you mentioned about what people said about My Daddy Paddy. Someone was talking about the fact that he's been working all over some really good flat horses, and there was another tweet I saw where someone's saying there are no good flat horses that are in work in December. So again, with all those things, Barry Connell is very bullish about his horses all the time. So I'd take trainer comments with a pinch of salt, but I do think the Marine National probably has turned a corner, and I do think there's no reason to bring him along slowly now. They should be keeping him near a peak, and I think he probably will take all the beating in this.
Oh, take all the beating, Marine National. We'd absolutely love to see that, wouldn't we? And of course, we are still a few days out, but and we know that ground is key to him to a large extent as well. But it's currently listed as yielding at Leopardstown. And in all my years working in racing, I still have no idea what yielding actually is or actually means. I don't think I'm ever going to know what it really is. But
good to soft.
Is it actually good to soft?
Yeah,
I've been told by
it's the
people
British
that
equivalent
it's
of good to soft, basically. Yeah.
okay, I've been told it's a different variation of good to soft, but I don't know. I think they're having me on, to be honest. So there you go. Good to soft, pretty much. Then in Leopardstown, we know how well it dries out there anyway. Andrew, who wins this Grade 1?
Matchbird will obviously appreciate going left-handed. His jumping still remains an issue in this direction, and I can leave him alone at the price given the trainer form. Marine National, I thought might need it. Found a 50s, better going right-handed. He's had 3. I mean, he doesn't always jump out to his right when he goes left-handed, but in his 3 runs at Leopardstown, he's done so every time. Even though he won one of those as a novice. Only by Night's very interesting. She's had 6 runs between October and December. She's won every single one. Now, last time out, I didn't tip her or back her or nap her in the racing post nap stable as I'd intended, because the Gavin Cromwell form was badly out of sorts, and she remained his only winner for about 100 runners when scraping home by a short head from Champ Kylie with 17 lengths back to the 3rd. The chip piece has gone for the first time. The yard's in better form now, so Only by Night was the interesting one. Solness, of course, he won this last year. Loves this track. Now, when he won this last year, he'd already had several runs during the course of the season. And he lacks a run since April, which is a concern given his record when fresh. But then you look at his record in non-handicap course and distance chases, 3 wins from 3 starts. So I was looking at Only by Night and covering on Solness, maybe doing the forecast. If there's anyone out there who likes to trade in running, then Solness is the one for you, because he'll go off in front.
Yeah, he will do, won't he? Yeah, Toss was a big price about him. He's such a likeable horse as well, Solness. I know he's on his reappearance as well, but so is our joint fab. Only by Night is 7-1 in here as well. It's been clipped in since the time of Dex. Right, the 147 at Leopardstown on the 27th of December. The Grade 1 future champions, Novice Hurdle, 4-year-olds and older, over 2 miles. So potentially some supreme clues in here. Le Divine Enfant, 9-4, heading the way for Paul Townend and for Willie Mullins. Fascinating to see the fact that Skylight Hustle has really been clipped in now to 9-2. And I was looking at the 2 Gordon Elliott runners earlier on this week for this, and he was really talking up Cocktail Brute. However, it is Skylight Hustle that has been the one who's been clipped in. Cocktail Brute has really drifted out, so whether or not he definitely goes there, I'm not entirely sure, because he has got the other entry into the new year. But anyway, he's 16-1 in this one. So Andrew, fascinating race. Looks pretty open as well.
Yeah, Skylight Hustle, very impressive at Fairyhouse last time. That was just in the maiden hurdle, though. We've talked previously on this show about how hard it is to make the transition from maiden hurdle to Grade 1 hurdle winner in one single step. So maybe at the price now I can leave him alone. Although you look at the last 10 runnings of this race, every single one's gone to Mullins or Elliott. Elliott sort of dominating more recently with 4 of the last 6 winners. So I might just have a token interest in his other one, Cocktail Brute, the one you were saying was had been talked up. He arrives here with Grade 2 form, and I'd rather take the Grade 2 form over the maiden hurdle form, despite how impressive that was last time out. So Cocktail Brute each way for me, 16-1.
Yay! I'm so pleased that you joined me, because I talked about him, and I know Jack Kennedy has gone with Skylight Hustle here, but I still thought that Cocktail Brute was in with a massive chance here. So now out to 16-1. If that's just jockey booking, I don't exactly know. But the way that Gordon Elliott was talking about him, the fact that he's got plenty of gears, but also when we actually saw him at Fairyhouse last time out in the Royal Bond, looked as though he wanted a bit of a trip that day. So hopefully he's got all the tools to be able to still win at 2 miles and in Grade 1 company. So I am with you this amount. Dave, who do you like?
There's lots I like in it, to be fair. It's a really hard race to decipher. I think there's not a whole bunch to go on. And it's tricky, though, because there's like races that the Irish trainers will run their horses in that seem to be familiarly used year after year. And the race that Le Divin Infant ran in is not typically one that Willie Mullins would use for some of his like top tier horses, for all that he was a real short price and they obviously fancied him in there. This is a race where Andrew was talking about Gordon Elliott's had like a good recent record on it. I remember when Appreciate won this race and obviously went and won potentially like a bad Supreme at the time, but the Divin Infants maybe is a similar type and maybe they've had this race in mind for the horse. So I can see where he is in the market, and the performance last time out was good, but another one of those that when I'm watching at the finish, and there's probably people that have got the data to do it better than I can, but by the eye, I don't, as much as he had lots of energy in him and they pulled like him and the first couple behind him pulled well clear of everything else in the race. It's hard to know how much he actually had under the bonnet when he didn't need to be asked for anything, but his action didn't look like he had tons and tons in there. But he's obviously like a nice type. Skylight Hustle did run in a race that Gordon Elliott likes to use as a good launch pad. So some of the previous winners of this race, they have gone through there. And there's another horse that looked in a bit of a canter, but I'm not, I mean, I'm being really critical of horses here, but I'm not entirely convinced that horse had bundles and bundles and bundles under the bonnet, but still might be enough to go and win this one. Cocktail Brute for sure is definitely a stupid price at 16 to 1, but there's got to be reasons, I guess, behind that. But I wouldn't want to put anyone off of backing him at those sort of price. We have got final decks for this 27th as well, so this is where he'll go unless he's taken out. If he is, it'd be the Lord as a Nace next time out. So we'll have to see what the options are with him. But I felt like, but the other Willie Mullins horse, Love Me Tender, I think that looks like a really nice prospect as well. But the one that I felt like was probably maybe not a sensible option to do, because like Andrew says, Gordon Elliott and Willie Mullins just win this every single year. But I thought Talk the Talk, that grade 3 that the horse won last time out, was pretty decent form. The 4-year-olds a long time ago used to get a few pounds from their elders in here, and they don't. And it's been a little while since the 4-year-olds gone and won this race. But the 4-year-old grade 3 that Talk the Talk won in there, Wendrock was a horse that I quite liked for a Boodles, didn't quite pan out. Liked him at Aintree again, didn't quite pan out. Mercia did go and win at Aintree as a juvenile, looked like a really nice type. But Talk the Talk smashed both of those. And while it's a big step up from grade 3 to a grade 1, and then we've got some of that grade 2 form that's sat in there from Cocktail Brute as well, the way that Talk the Talk won that race would suggest that he's more than capable of stepping into grade 1 company. And I thought 10 to 1 about him was probably a bit offensive, to be honest with you. I think he's the type of horse as well that looks like he's probably going to peak early in the season and might not be the one for spring festivals that goes and wins it, whereas some of the horses in here might be more of your spring festival types. They might be finding their distance. But I thought Talk the Talk looked like a really good 2-miler. I thought 10 to 1 was worth taking a chance with, but it would be like a small selection in a race like this. I think this is ultra competitive and it's going to be a bit of a watching brief, but at the price I would want to have a little bit on Talk the Talk. And I might also, at the time of recording, 16 to 1 Cocktail Brute seems like the type of bet that if you can get something on and you can hold it as a bit of a cash out option, I can see him shortening up and going off 5 or 6 to 1, and then you're sat on a good value slip, but you get the time to choose whether you want to cash out or not. So yeah, Talk the Talk I'll definitely have a bit on. I might have a little bit on Cocktail Brute as well because he's too big.
Yay, join us. It is though, isn't it? Like I say, even if he doesn't run here and he does take up the 2.5 mile engagement there into a new year, then still sitting on 16 to 1 is not going to be a bad thing now that we've got the decks there as well. Talk the Talk though, 10 to 1 shot in his bid for the hat trick for Joseph O'Brien and JJ7. Right, on the same day at Chepstow, the 27th of December, we also have the Welsh Grand National Handicap Chase. It comes up at 250. Of course, a Premier Handicap, 4-year-olds and older, over 3 miles, 6.5 furlongs. Now, of course, we don't have the declarations for this. Jubilee Expresso, who's been the long-time anti-post market leader, 5 to 1 still heading the way after day. He won the trial last time out, which has been a good ploy for these horses to be going and winning the main event thereafter. So 5 to 1 heading the way.
Is this for me? Sorry, Kate.
It is.
Sorry, I was too busy studying the form, and then I thought I didn't hear her say Andrew. Yeah, I was looking. I was looking at Rock My Way for this one. It's not going to be my selection, but I was looking at Rock My Way for the fact that the RPR the horse got last time out for the win at Ascot on a day when the horse was supported, so fancy to go well, is significantly higher than the mark the horse runs off now. So I was trying to look at the horse and try and find a strong enough case other than just that one run last time out to fancy him in the race. But there's just so many bad bits of form with this horse. He has had wind issues in the past as well. So I'm worried about him backing up that performance at Ascot. And of course, Ascot and Chepstow for me would be very different jumping assignments. I haven't done the numbers on it. I don't know what the record would be for horses that go well at tracks like Ascot that come to Chepstow and go and run well. But I don't think the two are necessarily as transferable for all that he looks potentially very well handicapped. The one that I think is well handicapped, and I've got no concerns about going this way around, is Jubilee Express. This horse was second in the race 12 months ago, posted an RPR of 133. That trial that you talked about that he won, 133 again this year. So has picked up where he left off last season for all that he needed his prep run at Cheltenham to get him there. If you look at the performance in the race last year, it was first time off, first run of the season. So this season, having the warm up and then showing what the horse can do would suggest to me that They would have wanted a prep last year. If they had been able to get a prep, he might have been able to go better than he did to come second in the race. So things look like they've gone a bit more to plan this time round. He obviously likes it around here. I've got no concerns about him on any type of ground, really. He's been fine on slow stuff and he's been fine on fast stuff, but I wouldn't want it to get too deep. We do get some Chepstows that are borderline unraceable, so I'd be a tiny bit on whether what's to do with his price, but as long as it's not really filthy dirty heavy, like more like soft, with as long as there's a bit of soft in the description, I guess is the best way of saying it, I think Jubilee Express has got a right chance. And I think 5-1, because it's a big competitive handicap, is probably fair. There's obviously like risks with horses jumping around and big fields and things like that as well, but it is only a 20 runner affair. It's not like your typical Grand Nationals where it used to be 40 and it's been reduced down. So I think Jubilee Express will be able to keep himself out of trouble, and I think he'll take all the beating. 5-1 does not look a bad price to me.
No, 5-1, and Sam Thomas knows how to win this race. I will do it just a few years ago for the same yard. Jubilee Express bidding to do the same at 5-1. Andrew, who wins the Welsh Nash?
Yeah, tricky one. Jubilee Express has obvious claims after that all the way win here last time out. We know that front runners do really well in this race, as they do in all Chepstow handicap chases, and you can back Chepstow Chase winners blind next time out and make a profit when they return to Chepstow, regardless of whether they're stepping up in trip or changing distance. So yeah, Jubilee Express, obvious chances. In recent runnings of this race, horses ridden patiently in their prep race were 1 from 81. So Geetmaker, who was held up in third last time out, could be up against it. Mr. Vango is not necessarily going to have the deep ground that he enjoys, although I fell in love with him even more when he ran second by a short head to Twig in the Beecher last time out under a big weight. That was a cracking effort. O'Connell's got to go right-handed, so you can ignore him, I think, at a single-figure price. Hayter Couleur's got to bounce back from that poor run in the Betfair Chase at Haydock. And the John Joe ones are interesting. Collector's Item and Monbeg Genius. Now, both having their second start this season. John Joes have been needing their runs. The stable was back out of sorts for a while, closed down for several weeks. Now, Monbeg Genius was fourth in this race last year when ridden patiently, and sort of got lost in the fog that day, then emerged to stay on and do second best of the closers, picking up fourth place. His other three Chepstow wins have produced wins when raced prominently. Now, he pulled up on his comeback, behind Twig in the Beecher, hence the reason why he's such a big price here. But he pulled up in the Grand National as well back in the spring, so it's arguable that Aintrie's Grand National fences don't suit him. So back at Chepstow, where he's got such a good record, second time out, yard in form, Monbeg Genius, I'll go with each way at a price.
33-1, so definitely a price there. And as you say, the O'Neills hopefully back rolling again after shutting down their yard for those few weeks not too long ago. Right, that was Chepstow. We now switch forward to the 28th of December, back to Leopardstown again, and the 155 is the Grade 1 Christmas Hurdle, 4-year-olds and older, over 2 miles 7.5 furlongs. Ballyburn it is who goes in here, the 11-8 favourite. Tia Hufu and Bob Ollinger also in here. So we've got the last two Sayers Hurdle winners taking on Ballyburn in this one. So for the Sayers Hurdle division, this is a fascinating contest, Andrew, that we've got to go at.
Yeah, the risk of sounding like a stuck record, we're on Willie Watch again here, aren't we? And we're very interested to see how he's got on over the previous couple of days. I'd be inclined to play at bigger prices. Tio Poo's got an obvious chance, but then the ground is arguably quicker than ideal. Although every time I think I'm going to take him on because it's good to soft or quicker ground, he still seems to win. Home by the Lee from our old friend Sire Fame and Glory, a 10-year-old now. Now he's won this race twice in recent years, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him go well despite lacking a run. And the one I thought I'm going to put up as a very sort of token each way at an even bigger price is Jetara for Jesse Harrington. Now, this one's only had 3 runs at Leopardstown previously, finishing second of 27 in the maiden hurdle, winning a Grade 3 mares race, and then finishing third in sort of Grade 1 novice company behind Dancing City. So also third to July Flower. So never out the first 3 in 4 starts here at Leopardstown. Got a run under a belt this season, so 40-1 to be in the each way 3 places. I thought that was fair enough, so I'll go Jetara token each way.
Okay, each way then for and then I suppose we're taking on those at the head of the market. Dave, who'd you like?
I like Ballyburn, but like Andrew said, it is uncomfortable that you've got to wait so far to find out. But at least we've got the perk of, rather than this being the big feature grade one on a weekend, and we haven't got some clues beforehand, we'll sort of find out more by the time we get to it. But I thought he was really good in that Hatton's Grace, despite the fact that he got beat. He shows so much speed when horses get first run on him, or whether they're weighted with, and he seems to really want to attack to get to him. I don't think he's ungenuine in the slightest. I just think he loves having something to aim at. His keenness is the concern. He's always been like, hasn't he, that daisy cutter action where he hangs his head low. And the fact that on his form book, the 2 runs at 3 miles at Cheltenham and then after at Punchestown, he's been beaten, might make you think that his keenness is a problem over this trip. And it has to be considered for sure. But there's not like Willie Mullins has thrown loads of horse in it to make sure there's a good gallop. There is mystical power in it. There could be the pacemaker. I mean, I think they should go fast enough for 3 miles anyway, but I just mean they've never really reached for any like gear or aids or stuff to potentially suggest that they've got a problem with how keen he is. It might just be the way that he is, and it's never stopped him putting up good numbers. I mean, he was keen in the Hatton's Grace and he still put up almost a career best RPR. So I like Ballyburn. I think he 11 to 8 is probably skinny enough with the question marks around everything. So I don't think I'll be steaming in at the price, but I do think he's the right one to be on in here. I love Teahupoo. They've talked about him recently, haven't they, about waiting with him, that's the best way to get the results out of him. And this isn't waiting with him to come to this particular race. But I think after getting beaten at Cheltenham, they've maybe just thought, well, there's other big grade ones that they can go and win with the race. And I think they're just chancing their arm at more races this season. Bob Ollinger and Home by the Lee were both in this race last year, weren't they? I know Bob Ollinger won at Cheltenham, but he couldn't beat Home by the Lee in this last year. And they're both really old now. So I think what Andrew's looking at with Jatara probably is a decent play, to be fair, because she had that run in the long walk hurdle behind Hidden Valley Lake last year, didn't she, where she stayed on okay, and she was third behind Teahupoo at Punchestown last season. I would imagine there'll be some firms that will be doing betting without both Ballyburn and Teahupoo. They're 11 to 8 joint favourites. I wonder what sort of price Jatara would be each way, a few places in that market. That could look like a right way to play it, because potentially you've got 5 spots up for grabs if she does that. But yeah, I think Ballyburn will win. Whether I could actually bet him at 11 to 8 or not, I don't know. But if Willie Mullins is firing, his price is going to shorten, isn't it? And if he starts getting too short, regardless of the stable form, it would put me off. If he starts to drift and he gets to a backable price, that's probably because the form's back in there. So I feel like I want to back Ballyburn, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to find a reason to do so with, like I say, the Willie Mullins form and the way that his price might move. So possibly might follow Andrew in with a bit on Jatara, but I might look to do it without Ballyburn and Teahupoo, because I think they are just better horses than she is.
Yeah, those other markets available, but 40 if you want about Jatara for both Andrew and for Dave, but also about Ballyburn. Just check on the Mullins form, whether or not 11 to 8 is a decent price of Acton, or whether or not he's actually clipped in. If the form is already there, then for Mullins is over the Christmas period. Right, the 2:30 now, the grade 1 Savills Chase, 5-year-olds and older, over 3 miles and half a furlong. I know the way you're thinking. 2 to 1 favourite in here. Galopin Des Champs only 5 to 2 second in. 5 to 1 bar about the remainder. Of course, we don't have declarations, so we've still got Gaelic Warrior and Factor File in here, and we've got loads of horses currently entered for the Savills Chase. But Dave, who are you siding with?
I don't definitely know, but my gut's telling me that Galopin Des Champs is the one that I should be siding with, because from a profile perspective for this race, there's red flags about a few of them in here, I think. I'm really interested to see if Jerry Colombe lines up, because as it stands at the moment, he's also got a hurdle entry over the Christmas period. So that would stress and stink that he's not ready to do himself justice over fences. But I still think there's a big race in Jerry Colombe, but don't think it'll be this. The reason why I think I've got flags for Galopin Des Champs is purely for the fact that he hasn't been seen this season. But I don't think he's a horse that does need a prep run as much as everyone else says it. And I know as horses get older, sometimes they can need their run a bit more. But I think he's just the type of horse that as he's got older, he just needs the trip a little bit more. When he got beat by, I know the way you're thinking, in the Gold Cup, I looked at it and thought, well, there's no reason why I think that form would be reversed in the Gold Cup. But this isn't the Gold Cup. This is December. And as much as they've changed tact with, I know the way you're thinking that they campaign him as a slightly different horse, he was brought along slowly last season, and his peak form in the last couple of seasons has been in the spring. I know he won first 2 starts, I think it was, when he started racing, but that's a completely different situation then. So I know your way of thinking, as much as they maybe try to train him for this, you can try with all intents and purposes, but if a horse needs his races, he needs his races. And I don't think Galopin does, because the 2 defeats in the last 2 seasons for his first run have come in the John Durkan. And as much as he was really quick as a youngster, he is a Gold Cup horse and he stays really well. So I think it wasn't fitness that got him beating those John Durkans. I actually think he ran really well for a trip that was way too short. And he's also a horse that he hasn't won over trips shorter than 2 mile 4 in the past either. So I think the John Durkan's sharp enough for him. I'm not worried about the fact he hasn't had the prep run. If Willie Mullins thinks that he's fine to come in here, given he's a 2-time Gold Cup winner, I don't think he's just here for a day out. There could be other easier options if they just wanted to get him fit. And the distance between that John Durkan and now being the Christmas period, they've had enough time to get enough work into him. So I think there's reasons to think that Galloping de Champs is probably a big price because people have those concerns about him, which might not be warranted, but we'll find out after if they are. Just one thing to touch on that is I looked at Willie Mullins running horses at this meeting in a Grade 1 for their first one of the season. He's had, I think, 26 in the last decade. Only one of them's won. So it's not really good stats on that. But then I looked at horses that are a bit older because there's lots of horses that can go in Grade 1s that might not win. And he's only had one horse older than 9, which was Chacun Passoir when he was a 10-year-old that has a decent strike rate over fences. He got beat when he ran here for the Christmas period for the first time from the previous season, but he'd also got turned over here first time up when he was going into his first one into open company. Whereas, like I say, Galloping de Champs does have that good first time up form historically. So 5-2, 9-4 by Galloping de Champs, I think is quite generous. He probably, if he had had a prep run of that John Durkan and run close to Factival and Gaelic Warriors, he might have been able to. I think he'd be a lot shorter. And like I say, I know the way you're thinking. I know that he is like a Gold Cup horse for the season, but you can't just change how you campaign a horse from one season to the next and it just instantly clicks. I could be wrong on that and he might go and win, but 7-4 about him looks terribly short. So team Galloping and hope he can get the 3-peat in.
Yeah, hopefully so. Galloping de Champs on his reappearance in his race, 5-2 second in, because we've got the 1-2 from the Gold Cup, and I know the way you're thinking, who of course beat him in the Gold Cup, 2-1 heading the way at Andrews. How are you playing it?
Yeah, I want to take on, I know the way you're thinking, for the same reasons as Dave. He was beaten 53 lengths on his comeback. Last season, he was beaten 36 lengths on his comeback. Finished 5th in this as an 11-1 shot, 15.5 lengths behind Galloping de Champs. And now he's a 2-1 shot. So not for me. Galloping de Champs loves going left-handed, 10 wins, 2nd in the Gold Cup, a fall and 100-1 6th in Grade 1 Hurdle Company from 13 starts this way around. Although, given the Willie Mullins form angle, I can't tip him on this podcast. Fast or slow is best right-handed in the spring, so I can leave him alone as well. Gaelic Warrior might run here if he underseats at the first at Kempton, but that looks unlikely. So then you've got Mullins. You come to a few trained by Gordon Elliott now, and Henry de Bromhead. Now, Hartwood was 4th in this last year for de Bromhead, and his only other Leopardstown run produced a win in a 25-runner handicap chase. He could surprise and sort of finish sort of 2nd, 3rd at sort of 33-1, 40-1. But I'll go with Croke Park for Elliott. He tends to come to hand early season. He's had 7 runs in his career in the October to December period. 5 wins, 2 third places for a profit of £25.75. A little bit underwhelming in 2 runs this season, finishing 3rd on each occasion. But I'll take a chance on him at 66-1 to bounce back and finish 3rd or 4th here.
66-1 about Croke Park here, just to outrun his price and hopefully to reach the frame, if not place, then in the Savills Chase. What a way to round off our scheduled races that we've got to look at. Of course, there's so many other races over the Christmas period, but we've covered the main events, the Grade 1 contest there. But Andrew, I will go back to you. Are there any other races you wanted to flag up?
I just want to say I've not been at the mulled wine, all these big price ones. So in the Royal American Weatherby 135, Confusion has an obvious chance for Sue Smith. Given the good record of 7-year-olds, he's the only one in the record in the race. At Kempton on Boxing Day, the 12:45. This has been an amazing record for 6-year-olds. 9 of the last 10 winners. Maidens over fences have also done really well. 8 of the last 10, and one that qualifies on both angles is Barlow Vento for Ollie Murphy and Shaw Bowen. 2nd to You Can't Be Serious, beaten half a length on his Chase W Exeter. The winner's gone in again since. And 3:40 at Kempton, a horse called One Way West fits the stats for this race. Really impressive from the front in 2 starts this season. Winning on left-handed tracks at Warwick and Weatherby, despite jumping markedly out to his right throughout those contests. Goes right-handed for the first time since the 2nd in Maiden Hurdle Company a couple of years ago. I think he's going to improve for it. So yeah, One Way West. I don't think they'll see which way he went.
Hey, nicely done. There you go. Nice round up there. I do like Confusion in the Roland Merrick. I sided with him when he unseated. So now he's going to go on to just much bigger and better things, as he showed in his last start. Dave, anything from anywhere else?
There was one that was a sort of an eye catcher for me from last season that's now having a run this season in the Paddy Power Chase. It's a listed race on the 27th, I think it is. We have got bonus declarations out so the extended places are out for grabs. But T&Cs is a horse that just didn't show up in the Irish Grand National, and I think direction can potentially be quite key to this horse. He has made a couple of mistakes over his fences in the last couple of races, but he was ending his season as a novice. He's got good course form. He's run well at this time of year as well, and I think the T&Cs at 20-1 looked like too big a price. Could be a good each way bet if his jumping holds up.
Nicely done. Right then, Dave, I'll go back to you, please. Not that it's easy to do, so you don't have to give a nap. Don't have to, because of course we don't have debts for a lot of the races that we were talking about. But did you have a nap at this point?
Oh, the thing is, the Willie Mullins thing is hanging over everybody, isn't it? But I'll put my hat on the line right early on. I'll go for the Kauto Novices start. I do think Kitsbull's a bit of a beast. I'll nap Kitsbull for the sake of the show.
Yeah, Kitsbull for the sake of this, but as we always say, do make sure to look out for the lads' columns there if they do have any sort of changes to that. We know that racing is ever fluid, ever changing, and whether or not Mullins's form comes back to the fore might just dictate better bets then throughout the Christmas period. Andrew, your naps, please, if you've got one.
Willie Mullins will have at least 20 winners now. I've taken him on in every single race. No, I'll go one way west in the 3:45 at Kempton, please.
One way west it is. Nicely done. Right, actually, you know what's really worked in recent weeks has got plenty of comments, plenty of engagement. We know how to make you lot tick, as it turns out, is to leave a comment. So I don't know who wants to nominate it this time around. Is there a particular comment or something you would like to know from people? Maybe their favorite Christmas film, what their favorite part of their Christmas dinner is, favorite item. Andrew, what are we thinking for a comment to leave?
Oh, I'm thinking least favorite chocolate in the in the heroes or the quality street or the roses, whatever the celebrations, whatever your chosen one is, and which one is going to be last in the tub on the 3rd of January in your household.
That is such a good one. That is so good. Your least favorite out of any one of the 3 big names for the selection boxes there, which is your least favorite? Let us know that you've got to the end of the video by leaving a comment in the comment section with that, whether or not we agree to it. We will wait to see. But lads, thank you so much to the pair of you two for all of your hard work as always. A big thank you to you for watching. A reminder, as we always say, you do not have to have a bet in every single race. We've got a billion races to go at over Christmas, so please do remember to gamble responsibly. These are just some tips and hints from our own opinions to hopefully steer you in one direction or the other. But from all of us, a very Merry Christmas. We will see you in the new year.